Just nice and decent people. I just want to ask one simple question. Do you believe that the breadfruit, the yams, the dashing that we're consuming now have the same nutritional value that the ones that our forefathers consumed in times past? Do you think that the bananas and the dashing and those things that we eat now have the same value in terms of nutrients as the ones that our forefathers consumed? I think the answer to that is no. In the older times, I think the lands were more fertile, and we have destroyed the fertility of the soil, even by some of the chemicals that we use, even by some of the herbicides, even by some of the other insecticide that we have used on the soil. We have rendered some of our soils or weakened the fertility of our soils. The other thing that is very important is having a number of value, quantifying the nutrients that we have in the soil. The very nutrients that we get into our bodies, the phosphorus and the calcium and the potassium and the magnesium, some of these things that we get in the food actually come from the soil. But we do not even know the figures, the values that we have in the plant itself. We do not know how much we have in the soil. That's why it becomes very important that you test the soils. In countries like America, Canada, Russia, Brazil, all these countries that produce a lot of food and depend heavily on agriculture, the ones that export the food to us, they do not plant before testing the soils. Because when you test the soil, you can know the nutrient content of the soil, you can know the value of the different minerals that you have in the soil. So if it is that it is insufficient, you can add as fertilizer. Not just applying fertilizer, but applying the right kinds of fertilizers. Because a lot of the nutrients that we get for our bodies come from the soil. And so it is of paramount importance that we make sure that we test our soil in the country. And I can guarantee you that I would say 99% of the soils in St. Lucia are not tested. Let's take a food for like yellow yams. In yellow yams, you can get potassium, you have phosphorus, you have magnesium, you have calcium, you have iron, you have zinc. All of that in the yellow yams, which is one of my favorite foods. But definitely, the yellow yam that my great-grandfather, my grandmother, and all of those people consume is different from the ones that we have now, because the soils were more fertile at that time. Right now, we have exhausted some of our soils. And there are certain measures that we need to put in place in order to protect the successive generations, so that the nutrient content of their foods will be better than what even we have right now. We need to increase the organic matter in the soils. We need to test the soil to know how low it is or how good it is in terms of the inorganic stuff. So there is much that we have to be done, much that we have to do in terms of testing soils to ensure that we have the right amount of the various minerals that we need for us to grow. It needs to be in the soil, and it needs to be in the food that we eat. These are some of the things that we need to give priority to. I find that in this country that the most important things to people is to the political maybe and just talking about partisan politics, but these are the things that we need to think about. Things that benefit our health, things that benefit our food production. People are it's like this is the most important thing. It is just people are addicted to political rhetoric in this country. But sometimes the very thing we're looking for is the one thing you can't see. We need to get into ensuring that our foods have the right amount of minerals. We need to look into those things for our health's sake, and to protect the health of the successive generation. The soil has a lot to do with that. The soil. Our soil are depleted in a lot of the minerals, and the Americans and the others are very aware of those things, and they put mechanisms in place to protect the population from deficiencies. Keep the fire burning. We have to think of important things and give priority to them.